Welcome to the jungle. We've got this buddleia in our garden. We bought it a couple of years ago and it was about this high, and it is growing at a rate of knots, about 3 feet a month. So as you can see, it's got completely out of control. We love it. It brings loads of butterflies and bees to our garden. It's a real hive of activity. So we don't want to get rid of it, but we do just want to bring it back under control because it's starting to rob the light from other plants and literally just take over. So what we're going to use to do this job, well, normally I would use perhaps some secateurs, and then for the slightly stronger branches, we would use something like this, a handheld saw. However, as you can see, it's quite big, so that method might take us a while, particularly with those stronger branches at the back. The secateurs are absolutely fine for these lighter ones here. So I remembered a little while ago, I was offered a mini electric chainsaw, and I thought this is the perfect job for this tool. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about what you can use a mini chainsaw for, where you're best to avoid it, and you can see how I get on with cutting this back. Before we get going with the chainsaw, just a note about where not to use it. Now, you don't need to use your chainsaw when you're cutting back these little stems that are just really light. You can actually snap them quite easily. Your secateurs will be perfectly adequate for this job. And in actual fact, using a chainsaw for these can be dangerous because they can snag on these. And so it would be total overkill. So just use your secateurs, cut them back as close as you can to the stem, and also try and avoid leaving anything dangerous that juts out that might get in your way. So this bit here that I've just lobbed off, as you can see, is green and it's actually getting quite thick. So this is really about the limit for the secateurs. You can see they'll still go through it, but they're starting to struggle. So this is where we need to bring in our chainsaw. Right, so we're ready to use our chainsaw, and a few things to think about beforehand. Gloves, so we've got our cut-proof gloves on, and our goggles, of course, as well, which generally are useful when you're doing any gardening where anything can ping back. Chainsaws, of course, are dangerous. Now, the fact that this is lighter makes it a little bit safer because it's a bit easier to handle. A lot of the time, it's if the chainsaw kicks back or gets out of control, that's when it can accidentally veer towards another body part. So you want to stand back from it as much as possible. So when I go to cut this branch over here, I'm going to make sure that I am far out of the way as possible. It's good to have proper control of it, 2 hands where you can, or it may be that you need to steady the part that you're cutting. And also, don't cut above yourself, don't cut from a ladder, make sure you're on steady ground and make sure there's nothing to trip over. So it is something that you've got to take pretty seriously, and if you're not confident about using it, I just would avoid it altogether, really. You don't want to end up in A&E. However, these smaller ones do feel a bit more accessible, you know, than the larger ones. Certainly I wouldn't feel happy handling a big chainsaw, but with this, I feel a little bit more confident to take on these little jobs. Another thing to say is that once you've cut wood like this, you may think, oh, this is the perfect tool to then cut it up into little pieces. But actually, you don't want to start messing around with this for jobs like that, because where you haven't got that stability, this is where the chainsaw can go flying again. So let's get going with it. Don't forget to think about where your branches are going to fall, like watch out for your cameraman. On another note, don't be too alarmed by these gloves, because although it looks like I've been in a terrible accident, so far thankfully I haven't, but I used them for blackberry picking this year. We went belt and braces on the blackberry picking. We had a big device of pulling back the branches and these super gloves as well. So yeah, we've got blackberry pies coming out of our ears now. So this mini chainsaw is only designed for branches up to 4 inches, and also if you make sure you read the user instructions, of course, of any mini chainsaw that you're going to use, you'll note that it says that if you feel any resistance, then the job's too big for it. So it should go through the branches nice and easily, otherwise it's not the right tool for the job. So we're done in no time at all. Look how much it's brightened up the area. You can see that this mini chainsaw made pretty light work of that. So this is the perfect kind of job for this. Don't use this, certainly this one, for anything else. It's only designed for cutting wood, by the way. So make sure you give a good read of those user instructions before you use it. Finish using it, so I'm taking the battery out, disengaging that straight away so that I can't accidentally turn it on. Chainsaws are no laughing matter. You'll see that a lot of accidents are chainsaw derived, so it's not something to mess around with, even though it looks a little bit like a kid's toy. I would also say, if possible, try and buy these from as reputable a manufacturer as possible. I will put the link to this one down below. Unfortunately, the way the online safety laws are, certainly in the UK at the moment, quite a lot of substandard products do kind of slip through the net and are available, and even from quite reputable distributors. So I would just do a little bit of research about any product that you're buying and look for as much kind of reassurance that you can that they're going to be safe, that those guards are working properly, that the batteries, the lithium-ion batteries they come with, are safe and not a fire hazard and so on. I wouldn't leave, even this one, I wouldn't leave it alone and unmanned when I was charging it, because you're just never too sure with this technology, particularly when it's coming at quite a low price. PPE, don't do anything without your PPE, your safety goggles, your gloves, your cut-proof gloves. Now, another thing, again, unfortunately, these products, particularly at the lower end of the market, can be picked up and they might be advertised as perfectly safe and protective, but actually, once again, a lot of products slip through the net and they don't actually perform as advertised. So they won't necessarily protect you against the cut, or they won't necessarily protect you against impact. So do your research about these. Try and buy from reputable manufacturers. If you're looking for a bit more reassurance, BSIF Registered Safety Suppliers, they go through all sorts of extra audits and tests to make sure that their products do actually perform as advertised, something that I do in my day job, so a little bit of knowledge for you there. So look for their badge, the shield, if you want a bit of reassurance. Like I say, no laughing matter, unfortunately, chainsaws, so do take care. If you're feeling brave enough to have a go, good luck and enjoy getting all these jobs done really easily, but please be careful. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up and do subscribe and come back soon. And if, of course, you've got any of your own experiences of mini chainsaws to share, then please share them in the comments down below. Maybe leave out any gory accidents, unless you think there's a lesson to be learned, of course. But that's it for today. Bye-bye.